This recording serves as an introduction to contract management activities. I'll briefly introduce the contract and then work through a recasting of the loan and early termination event. So once a customer has gone through the origination process, we would have created an application, and if that were approved, we would have created the contract. Now, apart from the typical billing related activities that will occur periodically, there are also book management actions that could occur from time to time. A prime example of these could be recasting or early settlement. If we navigate to the contracts, you'll note that we can either drill down into all contracts, or I can select my specific list of contracts, i.e. all the contracts that I've created within my portfolio. I'm going to open that up. And before I continue, a good point to note is that each contract can be geotagged. So if I go to my maps menu and I locate contracts, this will give me an indication of where all my contracts are located. I can then further drill down into each one of these, and you'll note from the tooltip there's some contract specific information, and this is completely configurable, and from this point we can drill down further into the contract. I want to open my most recent contract, and I'd like to draw your attention to the right hand side. Here you have a fact box detailing all contract specific information. This is once again completely configurable, and it's a great place to give you an overview of call it contract specific information. Maybe edit this out, please, Jason. Right, so just edit that out. So I would like to draw your attention to the right hand side of the contract form. And you'll note the fact box, and this is populated with contract specific information. It's completely configurable and gives the user a great overview of the key points within the contract. I'm going to run you through the contract just to orientate you before we move on to the contract management activities. So what we're viewing on the top here is the contract header, and this depicts all general information relevant to the contract. Close this, and if we move on to the transaction history, this gives you an overview of the contract ledger transactions that have occurred to date. In this particular instance, we have a contract that has been dispersed to the value of $5,000. A service fee has been raised, an interest transaction has been accrued, and we've actually raised an expected installment and received payment thereof. From here we can manually transact to this particular contract ledger. We can migrate specific transactions to another contract if that transaction was posted in error, or we can reverse. And this is particularly relevant for external system integration, and a prime example of this would be a call center who needs to bill on call costs for every attempt to reach a customer after default. Next we move on to receipt application history. Here we have a detailed account of receipts being allocated to interest, fees and capital. Into our charge model, all fees and interests are inherited from the chosen product. So what you're viewing here are fees that have been pulled down from the product that has ultimately been associated with this contract. As a side note, we can also then opt to add contract specific charges. If we work our way down to the bottom section, here one could also typically set up moratoriums and this may potentially happen when a customer is under sequestration or any other legal process that prohibits the raising of interest or fees. So under facility, we have the details of the facility value granted. In this particular case, you'll note it's a facility value of $10,000. Now recall, we only dispersed $5,000, which means that there's still an additional amount to be dispersed. This contract permits multiple disbursements, and there's also a section to define whether or not there are any disbursement limitations associated with the contract. In this particular case, there are none. Lastly, under recoupment, this details all payment-related specifics: the type of payment plan, the annuity type, whether in arrears or advance, the periodicity, and then of course the recurrence detail for the selected periodicity.